So that means I have to watch them and then just write a brief summary of what it's about. And they're very traumatic, but they also help me to see the world from a completely different perspective, and to realize that there's a lot of good things and bad things going on, and that we need to focus on all of them so we can get like the real picture of what life here on earth it really is about. So yeah, sorry about that, Layali. Next one is gonna be better. What about the rest of you? When you watch Café Sheroes, what was the first thing that, your first impression, what was it like for you watching that documentary?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I had to lower my screen because I just couldn't see people's faces like that, so it was very uncomfortable. Like I'm not into like that type of like, because that's classified as like violence, like carnage and that kind of stuff. So I just couldn't saw it.
Yeah. What about the rest of you? One more, two more persons? Give me your experience watching Café Sheroes.
Well, at the beginning,
Aranza.
At the beginning, I just thought that how could a person damage another one like that with acid, right? How terrible is that? But after they count their stories, I just begin to understand that there's another perspective in which to see the beauty. Beauty is not only what we can see. And there was one of the girls that say that they have the natural beauty. And that's true, because beauty is not only about how do you look, it's about how you are and how is your heart. So I understand that.
Yeah. Sarah, you were saying?
Yeah, at first it was really sad for me, because they really deserve something better, you know? And to end up like that, I understand like the depression they went on, because one of them told that she couldn't get out of the house like for a whole year because she was scared of the way she looked. And there was another girl that was scared to look at herself in the mirror. And it's actually it's pretty sad to see how people can damage others' life, you know, destroy others' life without a reason or without the right to do it, you know. And at the end of the video, I was happy that they could, you know, find a way out of that depression, and they could like get together with another girls and share experiences and talk about it, you know, because sometimes it's important to talk how you feel about something, because with more you kept inside, it will damage you more, you know. And I was really glad that they could like do these whole activities and be happy, because they were happy, you know, and it was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. One more person? Your experience with Café Sheroes? And why do you think they came up with that title? The title of using the word Sheroes. Why? Why did they use that? Who can tell me, why did they use Sheroes? What is a Shero?
Because they're women, and she is like the noun for women. She wrote.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Give me 2 seconds. Okay. What we're gonna do is to make a connection between that attitude and the last part of 1984. The reason why we watch this documentary is because it's important, first of all, for you to know this still goes on. It's still something that's happening, and nobody seems to be really interested in being firm enough to stop it. And secondly, because in the book, when Julia and Winston were being interviewed about their willingness to participate in the Brotherhood, They were asked point blank if they would throw acid on a child, and they said yes. So I wanted you to see what it really means when somebody throws acid on somebody else. It's actually a cultural thing. And then we also need to find a connection between this type of violence. What is this violence really about? What do you think it's really about? Is it just because they want to make a pretty girl look ugly? Or is it just about revenge? What do you think this type of violence particularly is really about? Hello?
I think it's more like revenge. Like,
Okay.
if I can't have you, then nobody will, you know? It's more like the part of revenge than the part of doing. But they're really connected, because making a beautiful girl ugly and and the revenge, they are actually connected, because they are taking revenge by making them ugly, so no one else could be with them.
Yeah, because what really happens in these cultures, what really happens is that when a girl is burnt like that, even her family abandons her. So she has to go through the rest of her life as a beggar on the street begging. Okay, so even her family throws her out because they start seeing her as garbage. So it is an act of revenge. Now, remember a few weeks ago, we spoke about when Winston was looking through the window and he saw this poor old woman hanging out her clothes, and he finally came to the realization that she was beautiful in her own kind of beauty. Remember, we spoke about that, and he mentioned to Julia, she's beautiful, and Julia said, "Oh, her hips are too big," and he said that's her kind of beauty. And let's make all of this come together. Traditionally, culturally, beauty seems to be the most important thing for most women. There's nothing going on up here. Nothing is like crickets. But, as long as I'm pretty, as long as people think I'm pretty. And this idea has made a lot of women go through their entire lives not contributing anything, not becoming anything, just pretty. So when you see that women who have had acid thrown on their face can still look at themselves in all its deformity, and they're not complying with anybody's standards of beauty and still think that they're beautiful, it really should get you thinking. Okay, a few weeks ago, somebody shared a meme with me that said that so many people are embarrassed or they're feeling bad about their outer of their body, how their body looks, and nobody's embarrassed about their mind. And you know what? That's exactly right. People are horrible. They're dumb as a doorknob. They're obnoxious. They're mean. Oh, but they're pretty. And that everything's good because I'm pretty. That's the attitude that society has implemented in the minds of so many girls and a lot of boys. Okay, so when you get to see women who have completely lost their physical beauty still consider themselves beautiful, it should get you thinking about your own personal definition of beautiful. I've seen a lot of women come to my office and now virtually, and they're like, oh, I have a zit, I'm so ugly. Oh, I can't walk, I'm so ugly. For the dumbest little things. And I keep asking them, but what about the rest of you? Can't you see the rest of you? Okay, now every act of this type of, let's call it violence. I wanted to use another word, but let's call it violence. Every act of violence has one single origin and one single purpose. And I'm going to share with you something that's extracted, I think it's chapter 3 of part 3. And I want you to read this silently, and then we're going to analyze this. Give me a few seconds. Okay, so read all the underlined part. Okay, so everybody done? You still reading that? People read faster, please. Thank you. Read faster. Should I make it smaller so everybody can see it? Does that help? Okay, everybody got that? Okay, so the question is here. There are a few questions. The first one. The first part that's underlined says the real power. According to this statement, what is the real power? Is to have power over what?
Over people and their wills.
Okay, to have power over people. It says the real power, the power we have to fight for night and day, is not power over things, but over men, over people. Okay, and then it goes on to say, how does one man assert his power over another, Winston? How does one person prove that they're more powerful than another? So then this takes you back to when you were kids in the playing ground, and little boys have this habit of just punching each other, and I think it used to be called el mancao. I don't know what they call it now, but they just really punch each other really hard. And some of us, when we were little girls, because boys still do this, we're like, why on earth would you just go around punching or kicking each other? Why do you do that? And why do little boys behave like this? Because they're trying to prove what?
Who is more stronger?
Who is stronger, exactly. And where do you think they got this idea? Do you think they're just born like this? Like, let's punch each other to show we're strong? Where do they get this idea?
From the sentence that boys are strong or boys should be strong. And that statement just stay in their minds like, I should be strong because I'm a man or I'm a boy, so I can play with other things, but I have to show that I'm stronger. I think that's.
Yeah. And so what's the danger in that? What's the danger when you get a little boy and you tell him, you can't cry, you're a man, be strong, be strong. And then he goes in the playground and he starts fighting with boys. What is the danger in that mentality?
They can hurt a girl.
The what?
They can punch a girl, sorry.
Yeah, they can punch a girl, yes. What else? They can become aggressive towards women. What else? What else is the danger in this? And you've heard that, and I'm sure both boys and girls, you have heard society constantly saying, you can't cry because you're a boy. You gotta be strong, you gotta love sports, you have to be rough because you're a boy. You've heard that, I'm sure you've heard that. So the definition that society gives you of what is a boy is basically you have to be an animal, basically. You can't cry, you can't have feelings, you can't like pretty things, you just have to be rough and bad and horrible, okay? What is wrong with that definition? It already Amir told us that it can lead them to punching girls, to being aggressive towards women. What else?
Maybe it oppressed the man, so he cannot say nothing about what he feels or something like that. He doesn't have like this easy way to say I'm sad because it's a man, and the society say that the man's supposed to be stronger in all the ways.
Yes, excellent. And the problem with this is that most boys grow up to become these men, these adult men, who only feel two things. Either they're really excited when their team is winning a game, or they're really angry and breaking stuff and being aggressive. And there's nothing in between. They're either excited over the football game or angry and breaking up stuff. And nothing in between, when there are so many other feelings that you can have between those two. But then we rob them of the opportunity of expressing themselves because we have made them believe that being a boy is about being strong and tough and rough and beating people up and being aggressive. But then when those same little boys grow up and become aggressive towards women, the very women who told them, you're a boy, don't cry, then we start saying, oh, men are so bad, they're so evil. But we told them that was what was expected of them. So let's continue here. And it says, how does one man assert his power over another, Winston? Winston thought by making him suffer, he said. Exactly. Now, this is a conversation that Winston is having with O'Brien. And so O'Brien answers, exactly, by making him suffer. So when one little boy punches another one in the playground, he's making him suffer, and so he's the man. Obedience is not enough unless he is suffering. How can you be sure that he's obeying your will and not his own? Let's think a little bit about prison, and I'm not going to send you a documentary about prison because that's traumatic. What happens in most prisons to most prisoners? Are they treated like in this side of the world? Are they treated like kindly, like, oh, here's your food, oh, you can do this, you gotta be better? How are they treated?
They're treated like trap animals.
Exactly. They're treated like animals. They're treated like if they have zero, they're not humans, and they're constantly being beaten and being tortured. And then it goes, obedience is not enough. So then let's go all the way back to a conversation we did not have a few weeks ago when I think it was Rebecca who said that she didn't agree with the whole Black Lives Matter thing that I told you, we're not from the air, let's just drop this. If we pay attention to the story that actually started this version, because this has been going on for the last 400 years, the story that started this version of the uproar, the man was being arrested because he went to a store, bought something, and the person in the store thought the $20 bill was fake. So the person in the store called the police. Turns out the bill wasn't fake. After the police came and arrested him and he was obedient and they had already put the handcuffs on him and he was on the floor, they proceeded to kill him. So it just proves what the writer is saying. Obedience is not enough. He had obeyed. The bill wasn't false. He had obeyed. He already was wearing the handcuffs. He had obeyed, but that was not enough. So what did they do? They had to make him suffer. Okay? So then it goes on to say, power is in inflicting pain and humiliation. There's probably nothing more humiliating than for somebody to be killing you in public and everybody just there with their cell phone like, yo, stop that. Hey, don't do that. Hey, stop. But nobody's defending you. That's humiliating. So power is about inflicting pain and humiliation. Power is in tearing human minds to pieces and putting them together again in new shapes of your own choosing. Let's focus a little bit on that last statement. Power is in tearing human minds to pieces. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I want you to think about that last statement, read it again, and think about organizations, institutions that have this habit of tearing human minds to pieces and building it up again, but with a new perspective. Okay, so read that. Power is in tearing human minds to pieces and putting them together again in new shapes of your own choosing. So, tell me, any organizations come to mind?
All of them.
I didn't hear that.
All of them right now.
I still don't hear you. What's going on in the people? What's going on in your houses, man? Too much noise in your houses. Was that Adrian? Try again. What were you saying?
Now can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say I think that all of them currently are looking for the way of power.
Yeah.
So, like for example, like religious or cults, they just want you to. They will tell you that you are wrong the way you're living, so you can just pay them money and make their bills fatter, right? And government does the same. They tell you that you're wrong because they are the system and you are against them, so you are wrong no matter what. So because you're wrong, you have to reconstruct your whole identity so you can fit into the system.
Yeah. And what about schools? Does it happen in schools too?
I would say less, but it still happens. Like at least some public system more than in private schools. Because at least in private schools, teachers care about us. In public schools, they only care about money. So
Yeah. Anybody else? Organizations or systems that tear your mind apart and then reconstruct it according to their own likes and dislikes and needs? You think he mentioned all of them?
Is like the army a valid answer? Because
Yes, it is a valid answer.
I've seen that they treat them like really bad, but I don't know if that's, well, I mean, that's what they do, right? They treat them like that so that they become like tough and really, really rough people.
Yeah, so they become tough, but also so that they can focus on one thing only. Because when it comes to war, you don't want a soldier out there thinking about his girlfriend or his mama or apple pie or chicha and naranja. So they do that also. They break their will, they torture them in order for them to get them to focus on one thing. What about, okay, so one more I can think of. Who can think of one more institution that does this, breaks you to pieces and restructures you according to what they want? Oh, come on, people. You're all thinking it, but nobody wants to say it. Or maybe you're not thinking. Okay. So are you gonna tell me or should I keep? Okay, so let's talk about certain families. Families, yes, families. Does it happen in certain families that they do not allow you to make your own decisions and decide what you want to do? Like you're gonna be a doctor because everybody in this family has been a doctor, so you gotta be a doctor, right?
Like the tradition.
Yes, like yeah, I have watched like it was like a series like a character in there that her mom was like a really strict woman. She can't have boyfriends, like no boyfriends himself, but boyfriends. She can only have like girlfriends, and
Oh, like only
it
female
was
friends and no boys ever? Only
yeah
female friends. Okay.
that thing. She can only listen to slow music, no rock, no pop, no reggae, no nothing. And she has to be a doctor, and her boyfriend has to be Korean because they are Korean. And I was like, that's not okay. And somehow at the end of the series, she decided to be like a musician, playing rock and doing whatever she wanted, not her mother wanted,
Yeah.
and that's pretty bad.
Can I ask? Can I ask what is wrong with pop music? Why?
What's wrong with pop music? I don't know. You tell me. Those of you who listen to pop music, what's wrong with it?
Why would they ban pop music in your house? I don't get it.
I don't know what to tell you. I love music, but I never listened to it. But that's a whole different story for a whole different moment. But yeah,
Friends.
this what?
Friends. I think friends do the same.
Oh, friends. But wait, we're not finished with the family part. So I know a lot of people who are now currently young adults that they went to the university and studied a career only because that's what their parents wanted. And because they said, for instance, oh, I don't want to study. I want to open a bakery, or I want to be a musician. And parents like, no, you have to go to the university and get a degree, you know? Or I've also had the case of a person who told me that his mom's like, what am I going to tell my friends? That you didn't go to college, you better go. Just stuff like that, you know? And it sounds like a good thing to do as parents, because parents really don't hate you. They just want to protect you. But there has to come a point in which you teach your child, and you're all going to have kids at some point. Yes, you are. You're all going to have kids at some point. There has to come a moment in which you teach your kids how to make good decisions, and then stop making decisions for them. And even if they do like the worst thing and do something dumb, it's their life. They have to do that. You cannot have your kids continuing to follow in your footsteps and doing your life. You already lived yours. You got to let them make their own mistakes. Okay, so Mandisa says that friends also do that. Tell me, Mandisa.
Yes, friends also do that by like making presión del grupo.
Peer
Social
pressure.
pressure.
Peer pressure.
Yes,
Peer
and sometimes the person, the victim, does a lot of stupid things just to like get good friends, good life, good money, because they are thinking that if they have that kind of friend, they will help them forever. But that's not true, because friends are not forever.
And friends are not supposed to be like that. That's not friendship is. I mean, if you ever have a friend that's pressuring you to do something you don't want to do, you got to say, move on, go. You're not my friend anymore. You cannot be friends with people who are not accepting you as you are. But let me read something from you from the book. It says, only in, it's O'Brien telling Winston that the party is everything. The party is the ruler and the owner of everything. And it says here that the party does not make mistakes. It calls the party collective and immortal. Collective and immortal. Whatever the party holds to be truth is truth. It is impossible to see reality except by looking through the eyes of the party. Now, this makes me think a lot about, somebody mentioned, I think it was Adrian mentioned cults and sects, which are like belief systems, like little branches of churches that go to extremes and have these weird beliefs. And I remember growing up in a system that they would say that they were the truth and there was no other truth but what they thought. And that's how I was brought up, like this is the truth and everybody else is wrong and mistaken and this is the truth. So what is the danger in having that kind of thought, that kind of mentality, that you have the truth and everybody else is mistaken? What's the danger in that? Come on, people, work with me.
You will not be able to accept other kinds of people, and you will just stick to the people that you think that are good for you. That basically discriminating others and staying in the same place that you were before, like sticking to something like that's really bad. But because if we don't go forward, we will not be able to grow as humans, and that's bad because some people like that can become sociopath and psychopaths or something like that, or worse, doing stupid things and giving information to people that really don't need, but they do it because they think that what they know and what they are expressing to others are more important than other things.
Okay, so other than churches, what other institutions do we find that have this belief that they have the truth and everybody else is telling a lie? What other institutions? What?
Government.
Anybody else? Tell me. Have you ever heard that we have the truth? This is the truth.
Police.
No? Okay, police. I don't see that, but okay. Who else? Okay, so let me read another part for you. It says, speaking about the party, we do not destroy the heretic because he resists us. So long as he resists us, we never destroy him. We convert him. We capture his inner child. We reshape him. We burn all evil and all illusion out of him. We bring him over on our side, not in appearance, but genuinely, heart and soul. We make him one of ourselves before we kill him. So they're describing what the party does. We're going to completely transform the person, but from the inside, okay? So there are a lot of organizations, call it church, school, political party, police, army, that do this. They just go straight into the person's mind and transform it completely. Now, at one point, while Winston is being tortured by O'Brien, he notices that O'Brien is playing a dual role. O'Brien is the one that causes the pain because every time Winston gives an answer that's not correct, O'Brien is gonna push a little lever and Winston is gonna feel pain. So O'Brien is the one who causes the pain, but O'Brien is also the one who stops the pain. And there's even a point in which O'Brien gives him some type of injection that gets rid of all the pain. And so not surprisingly, Winston starts really loving O'Brien. Not hating him, really loving him, because he sees them as the man who has control. O'Brien gives me pain, but O'Brien is also the one to take away all of my pain. Now, this is actually a psychological issue that's called Stockholm Syndrome. Stockholm Syndrome. And when you have time, look for it. I think in Spanish it's called Síndrome de Estocolmo. Look for it. It's a syndrome in which people start really loving their kidnappers or their abusers, like really loving them, okay? So what does this represent? think in terms of everyday life and how people have this strange loyalty towards organizations that are actually bad for them. And give me an example.
Police.
Police, again, okay, that's like the only word you know. What? Come on, people. Where have we seen people developing deep loving feelings for something that's actually harming them?
Government,
Oh, food.
maybe.
Food, government, okay, who said government?
Me.
Oh, there she goes again, the girl with half her face. Okay, so tell me, Mary Ruth, explain why you said government.
Maybe because some politician, I think, pronounce it. Porque algunos políticos,
What?
they, they defend,
Some politicians.
some politicians defend the laws or things that are not correct, and they think that, I don't know, it's like a law. I don't know how to explain that. It's like a feeling that they have, like, to protect their institution. I don't know.
Okay, so who else?
How do you say? Okay.
I had an example, an individual example, and is you know who was Pablo Escobar?
Yes.
Yes. There was one of his sicarios. I don't know how did I say it. That how?
I have no idea. Go.
Well, one of them that recently
hitman. One of his hitmen. Hitman.
Hitman. Well, that man, which nickname was Popeye, till the end, he loved Pablo Escobar. He almost adored him and see him as a god. But the thing is that while his life was in risk because Pablo Escobar have the power to kill him, Pablo Escobar also give him like money and girls and all of those kind of things. So he developed this love for Pablo Escobar, this crazy love.
Yeah. And what about those situations? For instance, if we bring it down to what's happening right now in the country, everybody knows the government in charge right now, PRD, is like really messing up. Like they're really messing up, like seriously. And there are a lot of people who are saying, oh, I don't care. I'm still going to be PRD for the rest of my life because I love PRD. And you're like, look at what's happening, people. Look at all of this. Oh, I would vote for them again because that's what I believe in. So it's like a whole disconnection. And Nassim's favorite term, which is cognitive dissonance, it makes no sense. You're seeing what's happening. You're seeing all the trouble that it's causing. And you're going to continue to be loyal to that institution because todos en mi familia siempre han sido PRD. That doesn't make any sense. Okay?
Can I say?
One of the reasons why this type of thing continues to happen, because even if they mess up, in next time, people are still going to vote for them.
Can I say that people think that like political parties are like football teams at this point, where they're like, oh, you're a PRD, I don't like you, or we're like, we own this house like PRD, or we're not part of the family, or something like that. It's like so dumb. They will go to the rallies for no reason and they don't get anything back out of that.
Yeah. Or when they say things like, when referring to previous government, like, robó pero hizo. What? He should not have stolen anything. Pero hizo what? You know, and so we have these really strange ideas and this love to certain organizations that are not good for us and that have never been good for us. And then that's where that's why a lot of these organizations are never dismantled and they never lose their power. They continue to be, you know, to torture people in the name of politics. Okay, so what do you think happened to Julia? According to O'Brien, because Winston asked, according to O'Brien, from the very moment, the very beginning, Julia betrayed Winston. She just started talking. Based on what we know about Julia, do you think this is possible? Is it true? What do you think? Yes?
Yes.
It sounds like something Julia would do.
Yes.
Okay. And now, what about Winston? Winston was tortured. There's a point in which he gets up and looks at himself in a mirror, and he sees this very old gray man with hair coming out, only about five teeth in his mouth. His varicose vein is bleeding and crusty. There's dirt in his skin. All his bones are showing, and he just looks like death. Okay. And so he tells O'Brien that he never betrayed Julia, but he did tell the party or the torturers everything about Julia, where they met, when they met, how many times they met, what they did when they met. He told them everything, and still he felt that he had not betrayed her. What was he really referring to when he said that he had not betrayed Julia? What was he referring to? We spoke about this.
Probably. Okay. Probably. I think that when you said that Julia betrayed Winston, she was telling the story by her own concepts. You know, she might put all the blame on Winston. Like, I didn't want to do it. It was him, you know. And I think that Winston didn't felt that he betrayed her because he was telling the true story. Like, they both have parts on that. But probably she, by betraying him, she put all the blame on him and tell that probably it was all about him and he tell like both parts, like him and her.
Go ahead, Nassim. What do you want to say? Nassim?
I get the feeling that it's also said this. But I think this is kind of a reference of flashback, you know, you can say that, of that point in which he says that if they could make him not love her anymore, that would be real betrayal. So I think that keeping not betraying her,
yes. Yes, that's in part 2, chapter 7. And it says, if they could make me stop loving you, that would be the real betrayal. So by Winston telling O'Brien that he did not betray Julia, what was he really saying?
That he still loving her.
That he had not stopped loving her. Whereas Julia probably never loved him to begin with. She had stopped loving him. He hadn't. Okay, so by their own definition, betrayal would be if the party could go in and change the feelings that they had. So what do you think? Is that accurate? Can we say that Winston did not betray Julia even though he told them everything?
Yes. In fact, I think when lovers kill, you know, cases like boyfriend killed their girlfriend, something like that, the guilty part that they most feel is when they stop having that feeling of loving them. Not giving information to the police like, yeah, she do it. No. The feeling that, oh my God, I betrayed my loved one. Now I don't have a feeling for her. And now she's like going to prison and I'm the one that got her hurt. But in the sense of feelings, not what they did. You understand?
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else? Do you agree with that? That the real betrayal is when they can get you to stop loving the person? Oh, come on, people. At some point in your life, you're all going to be in love. Go.
Not completely, because you can say that you still love a person, but you're with another one. But that's not betrayal. I don't know. Maybe if you love that person, you will protect that person. Or you will take care of all you did with that person. You will not just, I love her, I love that person, but I will say what everything we did, everything he said to me, and I still love that person, even though, you know, by saying that, bad things can happen to that person.
Yeah.
Because he is saying everything that happens between him and Julia. Julia maybe be the one guilty because she was the one that gave him the message. So she's maybe the one guilty because she started everything. So it's like, I don't know.
The thing is this, ladies and gentlemen, those present and those who have disappeared.
Teacher,
Yes?
her cell phone died, so she's staying here the rest of the class.
Yay! Okay, thanks for telling me that. Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to something we said at the beginning in conclusion. When we read that statement that I put up there on the screen about the real meaning of this power, of this violence, what needs to change in the way we describe or define manhood? What needs to change in the way we define manhood if we really want to see a less violent society? What needs to change? And I want boys to tell me this, because I am sure that even if your mom did not tell you los hombres no lloran, you've heard it at some point somewhere. So what would need to change for us to take out that from the definition of manhood and just allow men to be men and not force them to be strong? How can we change that? What would need to change for that to happen? Soto.
Let us be a human being, like to feel vulnerable, to express what we feel. Just being a human being, not
Yes.
an animal.
Yes.
That's
And how
all.
can we do that?
Telling them, when I'm mad, I talk to my mom, and that's all. That's the way I solve my problems, talking, sometimes.
So you think that just telling is gonna solve it? Because I got, how many boys have I got here? One that I can't see, 2, 3, 4,
Depending on
5,
your
6.
parents.
I got 6 boys here. So boys, I'm telling you, it's okay to not be strong. You can cry. You can feel a whole bunch of different things. You can be vulnerable. That's perfectly okay. Is that enough? Because I just told them, is that enough?
Literally nothing you say is going to like remove all the trauma that people have, like you can say whatever you want, that's not going to change how they feel. So
That's true. That's like we're coerced from the beginning,
it's
like
like it's,
Adam and Eve.
it's like trying to put like a bandage over a tumor. There's nothing going on there, you're doing nothing to the problem.
So then it's more
So
like an individual thing.
we're trying to change these things. They would never change.
Yeah.
Even though we try, it will stay the same. So
So then does it become like an individual choice thing? Like you get to choose individually what you're gonna do?
just try to change it on your life, because in the whole world, that won't be changed. But if you want, you try and you see if will succeed your decision or not.
And you know what, people? Every single one of you are gonna have children someday, mostly, probably, and some of you might even have little boys. Don't do what generations before you have done. This whole foolishness about boys can't cry and tienes que ser fuerte y sacúdete y párate, ese hombrecito, eres el hombre de la casa. Don't do that foolishness. Do not do that. Because what we have created is a whole bunch of traumatized men who think that in order to prove that they're really macho, they gotta be beating people up and breaking stuff. There's nothing wrong with beating people up and breaking stuff, okay? I'm not saying that now you're all gonna be all flowery and cutesy, no. But that is not what defines you as a man. It has nothing to do with torturing people or making people suffer to show your power. That's not what manhood is. You gotta figure out what manhood is, but I'm gonna tell you that's not it. So when you bring up your kids, when you bring up your boys, allow them to just be. Don't tell them what men are supposed to do and not do. Show them what humans do. Show them how to be happy. Show them how to find their way in the world. instead of imposing on them, like, you gotta be a boy, you gotta love football, you gotta go to karate classes, and you gotta break a lot of stuff. Don't do that. Just let them be. And maybe if at least some of you start doing that with your little boys, maybe there can be a small difference. And at least we'll have 10 less, 18, 17 of you, or however, I don't know how many of you, 17 less traumatized little boys in the world, and that's a lot. But you know, sometimes we like to point fingers and say, oh, they're the problem, they're doing bad things to women, and you know, who brought them up? Who was the parent? Who was the mother that allowed that little boy to get to that point? So we have to be able to take responsibility for that. Okay, do you have, yes?
Teacher, I once read a phrase, a phrase, a quote, that Mahatma Gandhi said that we should be the change that we want to see.
Yes.
So that's almost what you and Eduardo said. Yes. We should be that change that we want to see in the society.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, when I was pregnant, I deliberately said, I don't want a boy. It's too complicated. I do not want a boy. Whereas I usually see women are like, ay, mi hombrecito, mi rey, mi. I did not want a boy. I mean, I did not feel like I was equipped mentally to bring up a boy in this society. And I'm happy I did not have a boy. It's not easy, because if you try to do something at home and then you send your boy to church or you send your boy to school, and somebody's gonna mess it up out there. So it's not easy, but I really do hope that you'll be brave enough and have little boys and bring them up correctly. And yes, just as Aranza just said, that Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change that you wanna see in the world. Do we have any other comments, any questions? People, I'm waiting for Café Sheroes. I really wanna hear your comments. It is a bit extreme, but it has a beautiful ending. And the beautiful ending is that you do not allow bad circumstances to keep you a prisoner. You keep moving in spite of all of them. And I hope that, just as Aranza mentioned, it starts changing the concept, and I think Sarah also said that in her audio, changing the concept that we have of beauty and bringing it more inside and not so much on what's out here, because you're gonna get old. Bring it inside. When your heart is beautiful, it's gonna be beautiful forever. And when only your face is beautiful and your heart is like poo, then when you get old, you're just a big bunch of wrinkled poo. So let's strive to move that towards a deeper understanding of what beauty really is. Okay, so this has been fun. This has been more than what? It's been too long. Bye-bye, people. See you next time.